the Library, Groton Public Library's talk show. I'm your host, Barbara Clark-Greene, and today we're going to talk about One Book Every Young Child. And my guests are Jason Deeble and Beth Crowley. Beth is the head of public services here at the library, and Jason is the author of the book that was chosen for One Book Every Young Child this year. So I guess the first question is, Beth, what is One Book Every Young Child?
One Book Every Young Child is very similar to the adult One Book, One Region program, where we choose one book, and in our case it's a picture book rather than a novel. And we ask parents and children to read the book together, either here or at home, and then the libraries involved have programs that are related to the book. We're going to have the author come in and do things, but ours is geared also towards promoting early literacy by encouraging parents and adults who work with kids to read to them early and often.
Well, that's always a great thing, because how else are you going to develop lifelong readers if you don't start them early, right?
Absolutely.
So when and how did this program start?
This program actually is very, very new. It just started last year. We're in our second year. Last year we featured Nancy Tafuri's book, The Big Storm, and it began because 13 libraries in southeastern Connecticut were the lucky recipients of a generous gift from the Community Foundation of what at that time was southeastern Connecticut, now it's eastern Connecticut, and every library received $100,000. So each library agreed, as part of what they were going to do with their money, to put $1,000 towards starting a One Book Every Young Child program. And so all the libraries who are participating, the children's librarians have become involved, and we formed a committee, and now we're in the second year of being able to do this. And it looks like the original plan was to do it for 2 years, but it looks like now we'll actually be able to do it for a third year after this. So.
Are any plans to continue it after that point?
Hopefully. Yeah, there's always usually a way to make it work out.
Once you start something, it's kind of hard not to find a way to continue it.
Right.
So what will be some of the activities that will be associated with the book?
Well, we're hoping that the librarians at each library obviously use the book in story times. We all buy multiple copies of the book, so that's good news. And we also are going to have Jason visit each of the libraries. Last year we did a single kickoff event with the author and a finale with the author. This year Jason's actually been generous enough to agree to go to each of the individual libraries and do a presentation. He'll be starting with our library on January 22nd at 2 p.m., which is a Saturday. And coming in, he's got a wonderful program that he already does and has done at some libraries surrounding this book. So that's going to be really exciting. He'll also be signing his books at that event and selling his books. I'm planning to do a Quest adventure party in February and some craft programs. There are some box creatures that live in this book, and we're hoping to have a craft relating to that. And this book is wonderful just because of the imagination that can be used, and so there's many, many programs we can do. We also are hoping to bring back the Story Walk program that we did last year, where we had Nancy's book put on big boards and posted around the Pequannock Plains Park, and that would probably happen towards the end of the program in March. So we're going to run from January through March this year.
Okay, well that sounds like a lot of fun things for parents to do with their children. And here's a really important question. How did you, and why, whatever, did you choose Jason's book over anybody else's?
Well, Jason's book actually came to me about 2 years ago, I think. He had started coming to my story time and brought the book one day to say, I'm a picture book author, and Jason actually has attended other story times with some of the librarians who are on the committee, and so we were familiar with his book, and the first time I read it, I fell in love with it. I read a lot of picture books as a children's librarian when you're buying picture books, and this one was nice because it was not an absolutely original idea, but it was something newer and fresher than I'd seen in a long time. And with the One Book Young Child program, one of our biggest goals is to promote early literacy. And we know we're going to be reading the book to many children, so we also look for a book that's got great, bold pictures and not too many words, and just is going to be really engaging for the kids to really promote that love of reading and the desire to want to read. So this was a book that does all of that and much more. And when the committee met and we looked at other titles and we started talking about the different programs that could come out of doing this book and surrounding this book, the energy was just amazing, and we just kept going. We knew that, you know, this was definitely the book that we wanted to do this year. And the other thing that's nice about it is we do choose a Connecticut author as part of this program,
yeah.
but Jason's not just a Connecticut author, he's a local author from right here in southeastern Connecticut. So that made it even more appealing to us to promote one of our own. So we're really happy that he agreed to do it.
So it all worked out really well.
It did.
And how did you feel, Jason, when you found out that One Book Every Young Child chose Sir Ryan's Quest for their book this year?
It kind of had to sink in. I got, I think, an email, and no one's ever with you when you
No.
check your email, so you can't just say, "Hey, I just got this awesome email." So you just sit there with the idea, and it slowly kind of seeped in. And what really was the kicker for me was, well, Beth said it. She reads a lot of children's books, and this was a committee, and lots of librarians. Their whole life is books, or at least their whole job is books. And to be kind of singled out and say, hey, really nice book. It seeped in slowly, but after a while it was just like really just a great feeling to know that this book was chosen among many others.
Yeah, I can imagine it'd be pretty gratifying. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why people write, right?
I kind of wish they would have come up with like a big check, like,
Yeah, that would be even
like they do
better.
at Publishing Clearinghouse, but, or at least balloons or something, but the email was nice.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are curious about this when it comes to writers and writing. When and why did you begin writing and illustrating children's books?
I'm a fairly creative person. I like music. I like to draw. I like to paint. I like to do all kinds of stuff. But for some reason, just what I've got going on in my brain flows out the best for me when it comes out as a picture book, as a children's book. I don't know if it's my particular style or that's just where my brain is, but that seems to be the way it works for me. And I started kind of feeling that way back in high school, actually. I did my first one. And the process is different each time, but it's not so different each time. So way back in high school, it's kind of the same it was now. It's just an idea starts to kind of germinate and develop in your brain, and eventually, if you follow it long enough, something comes of it. That's my process.
Okay, that's the process. How would you describe your artistic style?
Well, I am not trained in art, so I don't really know how to describe my style per se. I can say that, most people would say it's cartoony. To me, the very thick black line has always been really important in what I do. And for that reason, I don't so much like colored pencils. I don't so much like to work and paint as much as I like just that thick black line. So it comes off looking really cartoony. So cute, cartoony, but at the same time, I always like to kind of put, I don't know if you want to call it an edge, but something else where, like this book is little kid, he's cute and smiley and running around, but he's surrounded by darkness and there's just an edge to it. Sort of like Maurice Sendak. I don't want to compare myself to one of the superstars of children's books, but he has these cute little kids and then all of a sudden there's running around this gigantic monster, or he's being pushed in an oven. But you get the idea. It's kind of like cartoony and fun, but at the same time there's a little element of maybe suspense for kids. I don't really know how to explain it.
It's funny that you say that, because when I first read this book, Where the Wild Things Are was the connection that I made to it, absolutely.
You are now my best friend.
And I wasn't sure if other people would see it that way, but that was absolutely the connection that I made. That's what it reminded me of, that kind of feeling you got when you read that book I got when I read this one.
Cool.
So
That's very nice to hear.
where did you come up with the concept for Sir Ryan's Quest? Did it just pop into your head, or?
I think creativity is a very long process, and people kind of give up on it really quickly. I think ideas come to people all day long, ideas for inventions or ideas for, they should really change this street so it goes this way instead of that way. My ideas, they come to me and I kind of just collect them, and I keep them, and I look at them every now and then, and I put them in a notebook, and I keep coming back to them. This particular book, the idea was I drew a little man made out of pots, which ultimately became this character here. But I was just, for no particular reason, drew a man made out of pots, and I said, oh, that's funny. So then I redrew it again, and I said, this time I'll make him a king. So then poof, he kind of became this character. And I said, oh, well, who would a king talk to? Who would he talk to? And then I tried to draw a man made out of clothes, which ultimately became this character. My first drawing didn't go so well. So then I went back to it again, and it kept playing with this idea until eventually, I had these characters start coming to life. And I said, well, great, now they just need a little person to run around and go talk to them. So actually, the main character of this book was kind of the last little piece to come together, and was kind of the least important to me in terms of developing it. So the idea started with a man made of pots, and I just kept coming back to it, until eventually it turned into something, which is how it always works for me.
Okay, well that's kind of what I was after, like how it starts and grows into something that eventually becomes a book.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing special about me. It's not like I have super ideas that I take out of my head and people say, oh, let's make a book out of that. It's like everything else you do in life. It starts small and you just kind of keep pushing it and rolling it.
Okay, well, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back and talk some more to Jason about For Ryan's Quest and the One Book Every Young Child, I get that always messed up, program.